The 1980 to Kennedy half dollar is not just a coin. It is a 1980 to Kennedy half dollar is not just a coin. It is a silent witness to one of the most emotional chapters in American history and one of the most complex transitions in modern coinage. Its story begins not in 1982 itself, but decades earlier, rooted in tragedy, national mourning, and the desire to preserve the memory of a fallen leader. To truly understand the importance of this coin, one must first understand why the Kennedy half dollar exists at all. On November 22, 1963, the United States was shaken by the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The shock was immediate and global. Within hours of his death, conversations began inside the U.S. Treasury about how the nation could honor a president whose life had been cut short. Jacqueline Kennedy personally supported the idea of placing her husband's portrait on a circulating coin, believing it would serve as a daily reminder of his ideals, leadership, and vision for America. This decision alone elevated the Kennedy half dollar beyond ordinary currency. By 1964, the first Kennedy half dollars were minted. Composed of 90% silver, the coin was immediately hoarded by the public, not because of its face value, but because of its emotional and symbolic worth. People kept them as keepsakes, souvenirs of grief, and tokens of remembrance. This behavior set a pattern that would follow the Kennedy half dollar for decades. It was meant to circulate, yet it was repeatedly pulled out of circulation by the people themselves. As time passed, economic realities forced changes. Rising silver prices led the U.S. Mint to reduce silver content. By 1971, the Kennedy half dollar became a copper-nickel-clad coin, similar to the quarter and dime. However, even after losing its silver, the coin did not lose its identity. It continued to represent memory, continuity, and respect for history. This brings us directly to the year 1982. The 1982 Kennedy half dollar was struck during a unique and often overlooked period in U.S. coinage history. That year, the United States Mint did not produce any official mint sets due to budget constraints. As a result, all 1982 half dollars were struck strictly for circulation, making high-quality examples significantly harder to find today. This single fact alone makes the 1982 issue more interesting to collectors than many other modern half dollars. In 1982, the U.S. economy was undergoing change. Inflation, unemployment, and shifting monetary policy defined the era. Cash was still king, yet the use of half dollars was already declining. Vending machines, parking meters, and cash registers were increasingly designed around quarters, not half dollars. This practical limitation pushed the Kennedy half dollar further into the background of daily commerce. Even though it remained legal tender, despite its declining use, the design of the coin remained unchanged, preserving continuity with earlier decades. The obverse features Gilroy Roberts' left-facing portrait of President Kennedy, dignified and calm, surrounded by the word liberty and the national motto, "In God We Trust." The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, displays the presidential seal, an eagle holding arrows and an olive branch, symbolizing both strength and peace. These elements were intentionally left untouched, reinforcing the idea that some symbols should remain stable even as the world changes. What makes the 1982 Kennedy half dollar especially fascinating is its quiet survival. Unlike rare-era coins or limited commemoratives, it does not scream for attention. Its value does not lie in extreme scarcity or precious metal content. Instead, it carries historical weight through continuity. It represents an era when America was learning to move forward while still holding on to memory. Collectors today often overlook circulated 1982 half dollars, yet this is precisely where their authenticity lies. Worn edges, softened details, and surface marks tell a story of real-use hands exchanging it in grocery stores, banks, and post offices. Each circulated coin is a physical record of trust in a national system and participation in everyday economic life. Uncirculated examples, especially those with strong strikes from the Philadelphia or Denver mints, are increasingly appreciated for their condition rarity. Because no mint sets were issued, finding pristine coins requires careful searching through rolls or old collections. This has given the 1982 Kennedy half dollar a quiet but growing reputation among knowledgeable collectors. Beyond collecting, the coin holds cultural meaning. It bridges generations. Older Americans remember the day Kennedy died. Younger generations encounter his image through textbooks, documentaries, and coins like this one. The half dollar becomes a teaching tool and object that invites questions, curiosity, and historical awareness. In a world rapidly moving toward digital payments, the 1982 Kennedy half dollar stands as a reminder of physical money's emotional power. It is not programmable, trackable, or virtual. It is tangible history. You can hold it, feel its weight, and understand that it once passed through countless hands, each carrying its own story. Ultimately, the 1980 Kennedy half dollar is not about wealth, it is about memory. It represents how a nation chooses to remember its leaders, how currency can carry identity, and how even the most ordinary objects can become extraordinary through history. Long after its purchasing power fades, its story remains engraved in metal, waiting for those who are willing to look beyond face value. As the years progressed, the 20 euro-cent coin gradually began to gain a new kind of attention, not from everyday users, but from observers, collectors, and researchers who started to see beyond its face value. While it was never intended to be rare or luxurious, its consistent presence across decades turned it into a reference point for studying economic behavior. Economists analyzed how often coins, like the 20 cent, circulated compared to smaller denominations, revealing patterns of consumer spending, inflation sensitivity, and regional usage differences across Europe. In this way, the coin evolved from a simple medium of exchange into a silent data carrier of European life. One fascinating aspect of the 20 euro-cent coin is how differently it is perceived, depending on context. To a child, it might represent a small treat. To a commuter, a ticket machine necessity. To a tourist, an unfamiliar yet accepted piece of metal. And to a collector, a dated artifact tied to a specific mint and year. This layered meaning gives the coin cultural depth far beyond its monetary role. Unlike digital numbers on a screen, the physicality of the coin makes value tangible. It can be held, weighed, heard, and remembered. The coin's design itself also reflects deeper symbolism. The common European side, shared by all Eurozone countries, emphasizes unity, stability, and interconnectedness, while the national side reinforces diversity. This dual identity mirrors Europe's political and social structure, where cooperation exists alongside sovereignty. Over time, as new countries joined the Eurozone, the growing variety of national designs on the same denomination visually documented the expansion of the European project. Each newly minted 20-cent coin quietly announced another chapter in Europe's shared story. In times of technological acceleration, when contactless payments and mobile wallets began to dominate, the 20 euro-cent coin refused to vanish. Instead, it became part of a hybrid system where old and new forms of money coexist. Street musicians, charity boxes, parking meters, and small cash-based transactions continue to rely on coins. This persistence highlights an important truth. Innovation does not always replace tradition, it often builds on it. The continued circulation of the 20-cent coin demonstrates that simplicity still has value in a complex financial ecosystem. From a historical perspective, future generations may study this coin as a symbol of transition. It belongs to an era when Europe moved from fragmented national currencies to a shared economic identity, yet before money became fully digital. In museums and archives, a worn 20 euro-cent coin may one day be displayed as evidence of how ordinary people experienced monetary unification, not through treaties or headlines, but through daily transactions. Its modest appearance will contrast with the magnitude of the change it represents. Ultimately, the true importance of the 20 euro-cent coin lies not in speculation or exaggerated prices, but in continuity and presence. It has survived economic cycles, political shifts, and technological revolutions without losing its purpose. It reminds us that history is not always made by rare objects or dramatic events. Sometimes it is shaped by small, consistent elements that quietly connect millions of lives. So next time you see a 20 euro-cent coin resting quietly in your hand, don't rush to spend it. Pause for a moment, because you're not just holding metal, you're holding a story shaped by history, trust, and unity. This coin has crossed borders without a passport, survived economic storms without fear, and witnessed generations change without ever losing its identity. Long after prices rise, systems evolve, and digital money takes over, this small coin will still whisper the same truth. History doesn't always shout. Sometimes it lives silently in your pocket. And the real question is, will you ever look at your change the same way again? Welcome to Old Chiller Coin. The 1980 Kennedy half dollar is an official coin of the United States of America, issued by the U.S. Mint as part of America's enduring tribute to President John F. Kennedy, whose portrait appears on the obverse side of the coin. The word liberty curves gracefully along the top, symbolizing the core value upon which the United States was founded, while the national motto "In God We Trust" reflects the country's historical faith and identity. First introduced in 1964, shortly after President Kennedy's assassination, the half-dollar was created not merely as currency, but as a symbol of remembrance, unity, and national pride. By 1982, the Kennedy half-dollar was struck in a copper-nickel clad composition, replacing the earlier silver versions, yet it retained the same powerful design that collectors around the world recognize instantly. The reverse side proudly displays the presidential seal along with the denomination half-dollar, emphasizing its status as legal tender of the United States. Although not commonly used in everyday transactions, the 1982 Kennedy half-dollar remains a highly respected collectible valued for its historical significance rather than precious metal content. For collectors and historians alike, this coin represents a moment in American history where leadership, legacy, and national emotion were permanently engraved into metal, making it far more than just 50 cents. It is a lasting symbol of American heritage. Its journey through the decades, the 1982 issue emerged during a quiet yet significant phase in American monetary history, a time when the half-dollar was slowly fading from everyday circulation, but gaining a new identity as a collectible symbol. By the early 1980s, Americans were relying more heavily on smaller denominations, credit systems, and electronic transactions, causing larger coins like the half-dollar to be used less frequently in daily life. This shift meant that many 1982 Kennedy half-dollars were stored away in bank vaults, drawers, and personal collections rather than being actively circulated, unintentionally preserving a portion of these coins in better condition than later years. Despite being composed of copper and nickel rather than silver, the 1982 Kennedy half-dollar retained a strong emotional connection to the legacy of President John F. Kennedy, whose image continued to inspire respect and remembrance across generations. The craftsmanship of the coin reflects the U.S. Mint's commitment to consistency, with Kennedy's profile remaining dignified and timeless, while the reverse presidential seal reinforces the authority and continuity of the American government. Over time, collectors began to view coins like the 1982 half-dollar not simply as modern currency, but as historical markers representing the transition of the United States from a metal-backed monetary culture toward a modern financial system. This era marked the point where symbolism outweighed metal value and meaning surpassed material worth. Today, the 1982 Kennedy half-dollar stands as a reminder that history does not always reside in ancient or silver-rich coins. Sometimes it lives quietly in overlooked pieces of everyday money, carrying stories of national change, public memory, and the enduring image of a leader whose legacy was immortalized in American coinage. By the early 1980s, the Kennedy half-dollar, particularly the 1982 issue, had transitioned from a coin of everyday circulation to one that was increasingly valued by collectors for its historical significance, artistic detail, and connection to the legacy of President John F. Kennedy, struck in a copper-nickel clad composition rather than the original 90% silver of 1964. The 1982 Kennedy half-dollar still bore the familiar obverse portrait of Kennedy, facing left with his profile rendered in dignified relief, flanked by the word liberty and the national motto "In God We Trust," while the reverse proudly displayed the presidential seal and the denomination half-dollar, clearly marking it as legal tender of the United States. This coin was produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, identifiable by its absence or presence of mint marks. And while most circulated coins were spent and last to everyday use, a significant number were preserved in collections, creating the foundation for its emerging rarity in higher grades. Today, the 1982 Kennedy half-dollar commands attention not for silver content, but for its place in modern American numismatics. Circulated coins typically hold their face value of 50 cents, while uncirculated examples can reach $2 to $5, and coins in pristine mint state, particularly those certified by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC, may sell for $20 to $50 depending on condition. Moreover, error coins from this year, including off-center strikes, double dies, or clip planchets, have become highly sought after, occasionally fetching hundreds of dollars at auctions due to their rarity and verified minting mistakes. Collectors and historians alike recognize that the 1982 Kennedy half dollar embodies more than monetary function. It serves as a physical testament to a transformative period in American currency, bridging the era of silver coins with modern clad coinage while commemorating a president whose legacy continues to resonate. The coin's enduring appeal lies in its combination of historical narrative, national symbolism, aesthetic quality, and collectible potential, making it a coin that quietly preserves the stories of a generation, invites careful examination, and rewards those who recognize its subtle significance within the broader tapestry of United States numismatic history. As collectors and enthusiasts began to examine the 1982 Kennedy half dollar more closely, its significance evolved beyond mere monetary value, highlighting a unique intersection of history, artistry, and numismatic interest. While the coin was no longer part of daily transactions, it became a quiet but powerful symbol of the era, reflecting the continued reverence for President Kennedy and the enduring ideals of the United States, encapsulated in the word liberty and the motto "In God We Trust." The 1982 issue, struck in copper nickel clad, offered a durable, long-lasting design that preserved the details of Kennedy's profile, the presidential seal, and the denomination even after years of circulation. Collectors soon realized that despite its apparent commonness, coins in excellent condition were surprisingly scarce, and professional grading revealed subtle differences that could dramatically affect value. Uncirculated coins, particularly those certified as Miss 65 or higher, began attracting attention on secondary markets, with prices ranging from $20 to $50, while exceptional specimens and error coins, such as those with off-center strikes, double dies, or minting irregularities could sell for several $100s or more, reflecting the scarcity and collector demand beyond market value. The 1982 Kennedy half dollar serves as a tangible connection to American history, a coin that witnessed economic shifts, changes in everyday currency use, and the evolution of modern coinage practices. Its continued appeal lies in its ability to tell a story of a nation honoring a beloved leader, of meticulous mint craftsmanship, and of the way ordinary objects can quietly preserve extraordinary historical narratives. For numismatists, historians, and casual collectors alike, this coin is a reminder that the most seemingly everyday pieces of currency can carry layers of meaning, legacy, and value, waiting to be discovered, studied, and appreciated decades after they were first struck at the US Mint. As the 1982 Kennedy half dollar continued to circulate among collectors and casual holders alike. Its story deepened with every detail that numismatists uncovered, demonstrating that the coin is far more than a simple piece of currency. Over time, the coin's design and production revealed subtle nuances in minting techniques, with variations in strike clarity, rim sharpness, and surface luster contributing significantly to its collectible value. Although most coins were used in everyday transactions, a careful eye would spot those that retain crisp details, bright surfaces, and full inscriptions, instantly elevating their desirability in the eyes of collectors. The US Mint's production practices in 1982 emphasized consistency, yet natural variations occurred due to die wear and quality control measures, creating a spectrum of coins from common circulated examples to highly prized uncirculated pieces. Beyond their physical characteristics, these coins carry the weight of historical significance. They were minted during a period when Americans were shifting toward electronic banking and smaller denominations, making large half dollars less common in daily use and thereby increasing the scarcity of well-preserved examples. So the next time you stumble upon a Kennedy half dollar in your drawer or change, don't just see 50 cents, see history, legacy, and a story frozen in metal. This seemingly ordinary coin could hold secrets that most people overlook, from rare errors to pristine mint state survivors, and its true value might surprise even the most casual collector. Remember, every coin tells a story, and the 1982 Kennedy half dollar whispers the tale of a nation, a president, and a moment in time that will never be forgotten. So before you spend it, examine it, appreciate it, and who knows, you might be holding a piece of history worth far more than its face value.